what I'd like to do is just talk about the rubric today. I'd like to create then a second video to talk about really some strategies in approaching the test. But let's focus just on the rubric. So here is a one-page review of the rubric released in early April. If I scroll up a little bit more, you can see it's going to be 10 points. The last point is complex understanding, and that's a hefty point. Let's just talk through the different points and what we're going to do. In talking with many teachers across the nation, I've come up with a strategy I think that I've heard from a lot of people and I think makes some sense. We're going to forget this complex understanding point at the bottom because that's just very lofty, it's very difficult. But what I'm going to do is just lay out for you, how do we approach this exam and how do we score, aim for a 3 and then aim higher. So we're going to get a basic shooting for like 5-6 points in the middle, and then try to scaffold it up with your information and maybe get a couple more points to get to that 4 range or 5 range, certainly adding that complexity. If we were going for a basic 3, what I'd like to do is focus just on these points here with your thesis, your documents, and historical evidence. Like this is the bulk. And if you look at this here, I think here, we can see there's a point here with your thesis. We can look at, there's several points we can get here with documents, evidence, and analysis. Now that's 1, and we're looking at 5 more with documents, evidence, analysis, and then 2 more here with historical evidence. So that gives you about 8 points. We're not going to get all 8 of these points here perhaps, but if we start with the idea of a thesis, and then let's use 2 documents. When you use 2 documents, you're going to describe it to support your argument, I would argue. You're going to describe the document, and you're going to support it. These typically go together here, these points. So it could be like 2 to 3 points here. You do these 2 to 3 points, and then you want to jump down to talk and add some historical evidence. I think historical evidence is one that should be, how can you expand this argument? How can you talk about what's beyond? Okay, so let's just focus on the words here, what's beyond found in the documents. So you can see those couple of points here. So take a minute to look at that. So your thesis, you're going to respond to the prompt with a historically defensible claim that talks about your line of thinking. You're going to use 2 documents. I actually really suggest 3 documents because it gives you a little wiggle room in case you misinterpret a document. So you want to use 3 documents, and remember we practiced that going through and looking at our 5 documents, which ones would you use, which ones would you strike type of thing. Now you can get 2 more points here for supporting the documents by using 4 documents. That is something I think it's something many people could reach. I don't think it's out of the question to use 4 of the documents. I think 5 is always tricky, but you could try for all 5. It gives you, again, that wiggle room. Adding historical evidence. You must use more than just a phrase or a reference, and it must be different than what we put in contextualization, which I haven't talked about yet. And then the one that's kind of, I think we've worked a lot with is your POV. Like, what's the point of view? What's the, why was this document written? Who was it written for? So you might call it POV, POV plus. Some people call it HIP. Whatever it is, this is your third or second number 2 here. Explain 1 or 2 documents. The how or the why of the documents is relevant to the argument. Like what their job was, who they're writing this to, if it's a letter, a public speech. You want to consider those things. So again, the idea is if you can get your thesis, if you can read your documents and use, by creating 2 body paragraphs, using the documents, supporting them and explaining them, you can earn points there. Add in some outside historical information. Specific historical evidence is really the phrase I should be using. And you're at a 5-6 range here. If you can use 2 documents, or I'm sorry, more than 2 documents, you can use 4 documents, you can add another point in this area. And after you get those basic 5 to 6 points, what you want to do is come back up here to contextualization. Now the beauty of this test for 2020 is you're going to take this at home, whether you're handwriting or typing. Now if you're typing, that 7-8 point range, come back into your contextualization. Your contextualization goes in the opening paragraph. It comes prior to the thesis. And here you're going to, describe better the broader historical context. Now this is different than your historical evidence, so it can't be counted twice, but you can add that above your thesis once you've written your 2 body paragraphs after your thesis and opening paragraph. You can add that. You can add additional POV as your time allows. And if you're super awesome, you're going to hit down to this complex understanding point. So I hope this helps you guys. I want you to read through this document, and I hope you think about how you can earn a 5-6 point, and look for the next video about strategies for the test.